Every woman has a breaking point and a becoming. You're listening to Becoming Her, true stories of courage, betrayal, and transformation. She was told she could be anything as long as she didn't forget her place. That was the first lie. The smell of fried eggs and burnt toast filled the small kitchen. The clock struck 7 a.m. 10-year-old Clara Jameson stood by the door, clutching her school bag, her white socks folded neatly, her uniform too big for her small frame. Across the table, her father's voice thundered like a sermon. A woman's strength is in her gentleness, not in her ambition. Remember that, Clara. Her mother stirred her tea, eyes fixed on the cup. Not a word. Not a glance. Years of silence had taught her that obedience was safer than truth. Clara wanted to ask why. Why her brother could speak freely, dream loudly, and take up space while she was told to shrink herself into politeness. But she swallowed her words, like she always did. She was raised to serve. But deep down, something inside her whispered, "You were born to lead." 10 years later, she made it to Oxford. The first in her family to do so, the campus buzzed with ambition, men in suits, women in blazers, everyone chasing the same dream. But Clara noticed something. Ambition looked different on men. It was celebrated. On women, it was criticized. When she spoke with confidence, they called her too loud. When she led a team, they called her too bossy. When she showed emotion, they called her too weak. But she didn't stop. During a debate on gender and power, she faced a room full of skeptical eyes. When she was nominated as team lead, one of her classmates, Tom, smirked and whispered, "Relax, Clara. You're not fighting the patriarchy here." But she was. Every single day. She stood behind the podium, hands steady, voice unwavering. And she won that debate. Not for the trophy, not for applause, but because, in that moment, she proved something: women didn't need permission to take up space. Fast forward 7 years. New city, new job, new dreams. Clara had become a senior analyst at a top consultancy firm, a glass building that gleamed like progress but smelled like patriarchy in a suit and tie. On paper, it was equality. In reality, it was performance. Her ideas were praised, but only when repeated by male colleagues. Her leadership was questioned when it made others uncomfortable. And every compliment carried a warning: "You're impressive, Clara, for a woman." When the firm announced a new division, she was chosen to lead. It was her biggest career move yet. She walked into her boss's office, Mr. Ross, a man whose smile was polished, whose handshake was firm, and whose eyes said you should be grateful. He raised his glass of whiskey and said, "You've come far, Clara. But remember, leadership isn't about emotion. We'll guide you." That word, "will guide you." It hung in the air like a chain disguised as advice. She smiled politely, steady and sharp. "Thank you, sir. But I think I can guide myself." He blinked, smiled that corporate smile again, and said nothing. But something in his eyes shifted from approval to threat. That was the moment everything changed. Because when a woman refuses to be controlled, the system begins to shake. 3 months later, she walked into the office and sensed it immediately. The silence. The whispers. The looks that said she's next. Her access card stopped working. Her name disappeared from the division's leadership chart. Her emails went unanswered. When she asked about her promotion, HR said it was a restructuring decision. But she knew. Everyone knew. And then, one afternoon, as she gathered her things, she overheard two colleagues whispering by the water cooler. She said no to the wrong man. Her heart sank. It wasn't just about losing a promotion anymore. It was about losing her voice. That night, Clara sat by her window, looking out at the city lights, a skyline built by men who believed women like her should stay silent. She thought about her father's words, her mother's silence, and the years she'd spent trying to prove she was enough. And as tears fell quietly down her face, she whispered, almost to herself, "They raised me to serve. But maybe this world needs me to lead." But what happens when a woman dares to challenge the system that tried to silence her? When she refuses to back down even when everything she's worked for is at stake? Would she fight back? Or would the system destroy her first? Tell me in the comments, what do you think happens next? If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe.